Hi, my name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Sunday, May the 28th and it is a beautiful sunshiny day. The temperature here is about 25 degrees, plus 25 degrees Celsius, which is in the high 70s. You know I'm bad at doing the math on camera, but yeah, so it's a reasonably good temperature. So the sunroom is warm. So I do have, as usual, I have some of the drapes open to let in the sunlight so we can have some natural light. The window is open, so as usual in the afternoon you may hear some kid noise from the kids next door or even potentially in the park behind my house. Because, you know, it's sunshiny and people are outside. It's been a pretty good week. We did get some rain. We are still in need of more. You know, so I'm not against, I'm still in the, like, bring on some rain. I know we desperately need it. I'm okay with some days of rain because we do need it. And I'm okay with some, see, if it was a nice balance between rain and sunshine, it would be great. But, as usual, I have no control over the weather as much as I would like to. If you are new to this channel, this is a channel about cross-stitching predominantly and sometimes crocheting because of a certain someone who will be named probably later in this video. So if you are new, thank you for stopping by and spending some time with me, and I hope you enjoy what you see. And as always, thank you to those of you who come back and check in regularly as to what I've accomplished on my stitching journey. The topic for this week is Happy Memorial Day. So it is the Memorial Day long weekend in the United States. I am up here in Canada, so it is not a long weekend where I am. Our long weekend, our May long weekend, was last weekend, the Victoria Day long weekend. But I have been looking forward to this weekend because I was looking for some sales that occasionally pop up on Memorial Day. So far, it hasn't happened. So some of the things that I was looking to purchase, I have not yet purchased because they're not on sale. So check back later. Who knows, maybe it's just on the actual day of Memorial Day. I am for sure keeping an eye on my Etsy cart because you just never know when some of those Etsy sellers are going to put in a sale. So, you know, who knows? We'll see what comes along. But so far, sort of the one that I was hoping was going to occur on the Memorial Day long weekend has not occurred. And it's okay. Maybe it'll be a July 4th sale. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, there are certain things that I am targeting acquiring for this year. So we'll see what happens. All right, with that, just had them open. Where's the magic piece of paper? Just a little bit of commentary on the comments from last week's video. So thank you to those of you who were commenting on wishing for safety and best wishes for the forest fires. I forgot to get my forest fire count for today. Really means I forgot to turn the news on this morning when I was getting ready. But anyway, some rain has helped, but as I said, still need more. It was interesting. So last week I was talking about the bad air quality where I am, and a couple of you had commented on relatives of yours who in Wyoming and Colorado were also feeling the effects. With the rain that we have gotten this week, the air quality has improved, which was great. So then it was more comfortable for me to go outside and do those, you know, yard work chores that are desperately in need of being done. So that was great. So yeah, and it was interesting. I did watch Lisa from Lost in Stitches Lost in Stitches. I sometimes get confused because there's Lost in Stitches and there's Lost in Floss. Lisa is Lost in Stitches, and also Cheryl from Happy Handcraft Studio. Both of them on their most recent videos were talking about the air quality, which, yeah, it was noticeable last week. So it has improved, which is great. The I want to point you to Cheryl, Happy Handcraft Studios, her most recent video. She has a really great recap of what transpired at the Ujamaa Grandma's Fabric and Yarn Sale, and she's got pictures, which is really great because you'll get to kind of see what the layout was and everything that was there. It's a really, really good video if you want to see how the fabric and yarn, you know, sort of what it looked like being there. She did throw in a picture of her and me together. You know, not surprisingly, I did see her while we were at the sale. And so those are in there. So yeah, so go check out her most recent video. I will link it in the notes below because it's a really great one. Yeah, so anyway, Cheryl, yeah. Okay, and then, so I also like when you guys tell me what I have inspired you to purchase. It's always interesting to see what those are. So Carol, thank you for letting me know that despite the fact that you were there saying to yourself, I don't need these, which is a sentence I say to myself as well. And then, of course, you fell down the rabbit hole. So welcome to the Little House Needleworks seasonal ABCs. And I'm really glad you got the Charming Christmas one. Let me know what colors you think you're going to do it on, because that is adaptable to just about anything. And then Lala also let me know that she had purchased Jeanette Douglas's the By the Sea. There's a series of 4 charts, also seasonal. So that's great. Don't forget that Jan Hicks has also been working on that one. I don't know that she's worked on it recently. I know that she showed it in her whip parade. And with her new plans going forward, I'm not sure if it's going to make the cut for her travels, but you'll get to at least see a little bit of what that looks like if you go back in and check it out. Again, you can see it in Jan Hicks' most recent video, which is her whip parade. Bobby Joe, thank you for letting me know that the King Charles the tin was available on Amazon.com, which is great, other than I live in Canada. So by the time you get it out to Canada, it turns into like, you know, a $45 tin. I'm not quite prepared to pay $45 for that yet. I think I had gone when I saw your comment that I checked on Amazon.ca, and I think there were maybe some there, but anyway, I'm still hoping to get it from my from one of the local shops. If I don't see it in the next couple of months, I may resort to an Amazon thing, and we'll see where that ends up. I'm not feeling panicked just yet, but we'll see. But thank you for the hint, because it's also on the radar that if it turns out that I can't get it in Canada in a few months' time, I may end up purchasing it in the US and hopefully shipping it to one of my relatives who are snowbirds, depending on when they go down. They're on my list to contact to find out exactly when they're going down, because I might need to ship them a few things. And then Girly, I laughed at your comment. One day the high was plus 24 degrees Celsius, and the following day it was plus 2 degrees Celsius, which is close to snowy weather. Yeah, I'm familiar with those swings. One of the things I do like about where I live is, as much as the temperatures during the day are lovely and warm and sunny, we cool off a lot overnight, for the most part. So from a Fahrenheit perspective, like the temperatures between the high during the day and the overnight low can be like a 30-degree Fahrenheit difference. So, you know, you can go from like a high of plus 80 degrees Fahrenheit and overnight the low of plus 50. Again, open up those windows, help the house cool off and all that kind of stuff. So I enjoy that. It does mean I don't spend a lot of quality time outside past, certainly once the sun goes down, which, don't get me wrong, in the summer is late, but once the sun goes down, it chills off quite quickly. So I'm back inside into my lovely sunroom, which is lovely in the evenings. Here in the afternoon, it's a little bit roasty toasty, so as usual, I may get a little glowy as we go through this video. And then last but not least, lovely Linda from Leeds left a comment about the Cliffside Stitches Stitch Along. which the last tile in that stitch along came out, I can't remember whether it was Friday or Saturday with the time differences. Anyway, I haven't downloaded yet. It is on my list to download. I have downloaded the first 35. So I just need to get 36. But there is a time limit. They have said that they are planning on pulling all of the Cliffside stitches patterns from this most recent stitch along down by, I think the date is June 11th. So you've got a little bit of time if you haven't gone and downloaded them. And you know my line is download them while they're available. They are going to turn it into a pattern that you can purchase. From a budget perspective, it's always more economical to get the free ones. Just saying. So I will put a link to the Cliffside Stitches Sal in the notes section down below. If you're part of the Facebook group, the files are there in the file section of the Facebook group. You do not have to be on Facebook to be a part of that stitch along. The files are available from the Cliffside Stitches website, which is what I will put a link to. But just to let you know, there is a Cliffside Stitches Sal Facebook group, so you can see all the different colors and things that people have done. They were running 2 stitch alongs. One was a cross stitch one and one was a black work one. Both of those stitch alongs were 36 squares, which are now all available. I've only downloaded the cross stitch ones. I'm debating downloading the black work ones. There was a lady in the Facebook group, she was doing both of them, and so she was alternating like a cross stitch block and then a black work block and then a cross stitch block, and it looked really interesting. I just keep looking at them and going like, I'm not sure I would ever really do the black work ones, but it is a great it's a great design. Like, I've loved seeing the pictures in the Facebook group and seeing what everybody's doing and the options that are available. So yeah, Cliffside Stitches, Stitch Along. They are starting another one in July, which is going to be a 2-month stitch along, is my understanding. So I'll be anxious to see what that one looks like. Sorry, it's a little roasty in here. All right. Okay, with that, let's get into some stitching. As usual, we will start off with my Sunday stitch, which is a Little House Needleworks Winter ABCs. I am stitching this on 28 count Springfield Sage Lugana by Zweigart. And the big decision this week was which red was I going to use. And here are the results. So I ended up using the Licorice red, the called for. I know, who knew? I went with the called for red, Licorice red, by Classic Colorworks. Now, I was aiming to have everything down to F complete, and I'm almost there. I stopped just shy of getting it done. There's some brown that needs to go here in the sleigh and the bottoms of the tree trunks, which are 2 stitches each, and finish this tree down here is what I have left to go. So I'm about, I don't know, I'm going to call it 15 stitches shy of accomplishing my getting everything down to F complete. So tonight's project is to continue on down. Like, we're into a big one because the next one is like the big gigantic house. So we'll see how long that takes me to do things. But yeah, so making progress on this, picked my red. And as usual, it's the funny thing, in bright daylight sunshine, I think the red is a little too toned down. But at night, when all of the other lights are on, I think it's fine. So it's a little bit, it'll be fine. I've started it with the Licorice red. We're going to continue with the Licorice red, and I've made my choice. It's fine. Like I say, at night, I think it's perfect. During the day, I go, ooh, maybe it's a little too toned down. It should be fine. I keep telling myself that. It's fine. It's fine. Forgot to bring the stool over. All right, so there's that one. Then, of course, I have continued on my itchy nose. My Mirabilia May, so working on April's Blue Diamond by Mirabilia. And made decent progress this week. Not quite as much as I wanted, but decent progress. So here's where we're at. Oh yeah, it's another one of those. I was planning on just slightly changing how this was rolled. There we go. Okay, so what did I get done? So when we last talked about this, what I had left to do was finish off the leaf. So there's the extra leaf and the tops of the two leaves over here was all I had left. So page 3 is fully complete other than the beading. And there's a huge number of beads down there. I've forgotten what the number is. So then, of course, I came up and have been working on the ribbon. So I finished all of the ribbon up to here, done all of this one, and I'm working on the ribbon on either. I was hoping that I was going to have all of the ribbon, you know, sort of from the waist down completed by this video, which I did not accomplish. But, you know, progress is progress. I've made a decent stab. I'm expecting that I will be able to get all of the ribbon complete before the end of May. It'll be interesting when I add up the numbers to see just how many stitches I've gotten into this thing. But she made progress. There's still a lot left to go. So there is for page 2, I still have about 1,400 stitches left to go in on page 2, which does not include the 500 beads that need to go in. So 500 beads on page 2, some huge number on page 3. And I did, because I was curious for myself, I was like, okay, so page 1, so that top part, you know, how much more will I have to do once I get into the top part of her? Oh my goodness, there's like 4,600 stitches left to go on page 1. Because, of course, none of them have been done. So that's 4,600 beads and everything. And there is a huge number of beads in the top part, too. Right? It's a Mirabilia. It's very beady. So I have got 6,000 stitches left to go, plus the beads on pages 2 and 3. So there's a lot left to go on this. A lot. But have made good progress, and progress is progress. So it's coming along. Again, I just wish I'd gotten that last bit of ribbon in, but it just didn't quite happen. Anyway, so there is my Mirabilia. And then this week, of course, because it was May 25th on Thursday, 25, yeah, 28, 27, 26, 25, yeah, Thursday. I had to count back. It was my time to work on my Little Bits of Christmas by the Drawn Thread. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, I am stitching April's Blue Diamond on 32 count Aerial Lugana by Picture This Plus using all of the called for fibers. This one I'm stitching on, I've already forgotten. I think it's either 28 or 32 count. So check in the notes below if you care. Serene Lugana by Picture This Plus. Using the called for colors so far, other than I changed the red to Gloriana Poinsettia. And so my block for this month, so my goal for this one is I'm going to end up doing 12 blocks to go on the sled, which I showed like eons ago. And hopefully by doing 1 block a month, I will have a shot of turning this into a fully finished item before Christmas Day this year. There's a chance. I don't know if it's a good chance or a remote chance. There's a chance. Anyway, so this was the block that I decided to do this month, which is also interesting because I had that moment when I pulled it. I went, oh, nuts. I forgot to figure out what I'm putting in, how I'm spacing out the rest of them. So this is the top. There's going to be another row below here to get my 4 rows of 3 blocks. So I really, before we hit the June one, I really need to make a final decision on the placement of where these things are going. So I put in my Santa Claus. Man, this was a huge stitch. I want to say it was like 525 stitches. Like, I stayed up really late to get this done. I think I kind of looked at it when it won't be that bad because, you know, there's really big chunky colors, right? You know, all the white in the beard and all the red, you know. Anyway, it still turned into a really big stitch. So like I said, I think it was about 525. I don't have my book out here for me to check with, but that's kind of the number I have in my head. It was a big stitch, which means I'm really worried that I can't necessarily count on the 25th of having like that huge chunk of time to be able to get that many stitches in. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. My goal will be to get, like, I mean, don't kid yourself. Like, this house block, that's going to be a big stitch. This house block is going to be a big stitch. Like all of these other ones. So I have 6 blocks left to go, and the 6 blocks are 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the piece 1 and joy. So those will be easier stitches. So I'm going to leave those wherever they belong in the format until last, so that I do all of these big stitches, but the next 4 will be big stitches. So I'm a little concerned about how long it's going to take me to get those blocks in. But, you know, got the block for this month done, which was really positive. So, yeah. So technically still on track for this one, which is good. It's nice to be on track for something. So that's positive. And I think he's looking pretty good. Like I say, I still have to make a final decision about whether or not the birds need to be backstitched. I don't think I need to backstitch the beard, but, you know, stay tuned. We'll see what final decisions are on that. All right. And that is all of the stitching that I got accomplished this week. Not bad, not bad. A decent stitch. Did manage to get a chunk of yard work done. There's a lot of yard work left to go, but I did get a chunk of yard work done. I did get my voting done, so I'm on track for those personal tasks. All right, let's get to Stashquisitions. I kept them in a bag, so I would know. All right. Okay, so I put in an order with traditional stitches, which I went and picked up because, you know, so I went and I'm not taking it out of the bag. This is 32 count white opalescent Lugana. I got a really big piece. Why? Because I do have 28 count white opalescent in stash, but I actually, I think I only have a little bit of 32 count white opalescent left in my stash. And I know that because I'm using 32 count white opalescent for that King Charles III coronation piece. And when I was getting ready to stitch that one, I'm like, oh my goodness, you have barely any 32 count left. So I went and ordered myself a big piece for stash. So got that. And then I also picked out, this is, there's no, oh, I know what happened. the tag for this. So I think this is Winter White Honeycomb Afghan fabric. The tag fell out and it's somewhere in the family room, but anyway. It's a little, see on camera it's showing up as really quite white. That's because there's light hitting it. It's a little more ivory toned than I was expecting. The reason why I got this is because it's 18 count, and for the Jim Shore book that I got from the Ujamaa sale that I showed in Hollapalooza, they showed a piece where they had stitched the blocks to create a word on Afghan fabric, and it needed to be 18 count. The blocks needed to be blah 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 size. And while I was on the Traditional Stitches site, they had this piece of Afghan fabric. Now it's technically more than I need because it's 2 squares tall by 5 squares wide. Of course, if you reverse it, it's the other way. I only need, originally I only needed 3 because I was going to do the word joy. I've now decided I can do the word joy because it's 5 squares long and do 2, they've got 2 motifs, and I'll put 1 on either end. So the 5 worked out really well. This was a very economical piece of fabric to purchase. I am having that debate about, my debate is, do I try bleaching it to make it a little more white? I still think it's okay, but anybody with thoughts on that? So if I just bleach this, I'm trying to figure out where to, like I say, it's a little more ivory than I was expecting, and I should have known winter white, and I don't regret the purchase, but I'm just having that moment going, I wonder if I bleached it? Now, there is more here than I need, so I do have the ability that I could actually just take a little section of it and try it and see what happened. But if anybody's smart out there and knows what to do, or has suggestions for me, that would be awesome. But that's so that's why I purchased this. So it was $6.80 Canadian for this piece of fabric. So like I say, it was a very economical option. And then I was also going 18 count. It also meant that it could maybe turn into a stitching at the library piece. So there's that. And then all right, I was kitting up some other things. So this is 25 count Wedgwood Lugana, which I picked up. This is for something specific in the 5-year plan. So the funny thing is, if I had actually been looking at my 5-year plan before I went to the Ujamaa, I think a friend of mine, the friend that went with me, I think she actually picked up a piece of 25 count Wedgwood Lugana at the Ujamaa sale, which I'm sure I looked at and went, 25 count, not my jam. It's just because anyway, she beat me to it. It's totally fine. I went and I got this. So this is a fat quarter of 25 count Wedgwood Lugana, which is for something specific. And then I also picked up a piece of 22 count White Oslo fabric. Again, this is for something that's going into the that is in the 5-year plan that I'm kitting up. Yeah, nothing terribly exciting. 22 count white. And then, sorry, I had a list of fibers that I was going and looking for while I was there. I'm just sorting things. Okay. So I got some Kreinik Silk Mori colors. This is for a specific project. Like I say, I'm kitting things up that are in the 5-year plan. This isn't necessarily for 2024. This is something in the 5-year plan, but they had them in stock, so that was great. Then I picked up 3 skeins of NPI, good grief, 462. There's a cloud that's just come over, so the light in here's gone a little bit off. Anyway, so blue, 3 skeins. This, again, this is for a project. I'm kitting up a project. It's not exactly in the 5-year plan yet, but while I was there, it's just like they actually had, I had noted that it needed 3 skeins of one color, and I just went, let's, if they've got the 3 skeins, I was going to pick them up. If they didn't have the 3 skeins, I was going to wait and then order as that particular project came into the plan, but they actually had 3 skeins there from the same dye lot, so I picked it up. I picked up, so this is Rainbow Gallery Overture V28 and Rainbow Gallery Sparkle Braid SK14. This is very specifically to go with, whoops. So from the Hallapalooza, from the Ujamagramma sale, I picked up that Debbie's Designs Fun Stuff canvas work project. And typical with all canvas work projects, you need a lot of different fibers and all that kind of things to actually kit it up. So I am working on kitting it up. Sometimes Rainbow Gallery stuff gets discontinued. It's an older chart, so I was a little concerned about making sure that I got it kitted up. And this gives you essentially sort of what the color palette for that one is. So it's nicer. A friend of mine, remember I said, my friend had said, oh, I think I've got that one kitted up at home, and the colors are better than it looks like on the cover. We all know the covers are deceptive. So this is really the color palette. And because I did pull the DMCs for it as well. So that's really what the color palette's going to be. So I do think it's actually going to turn into something really lovely. So I still need a couple more threads for that particular project. So I've got those ordered. So those should be coming at some point, but that's what that's for. And then I picked up a bunch of Karen water lilies, again, just kitting some stuff up. Yeah. This is Alpine Moss, Cherry Cordial, Peach Sherbet, and Highland Mist. I was going Highland Mint? I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Highland Mist. So those are the 4 skeins of Karen water lilies that I picked up. And picked up a skein of Classic Colorworks Lemongrass. So there you go. So those are my Stashquisitions for this week. Technically there are a few more things to show, but as you know, I like to sort of spread the Stashquisitions over a number of weeks. So don't worry, there will be Stashquisitions next week, and probably the week after that, and probably the week after that. Good grief, what's going on there? The hair. Anyway, yes, I didn't do it curly. Sometimes there's just days where it's easy to go with the hairstyle you know you can do. Anyway, so those are the Stashquisitions for this week, which brings me to plans for my cross stitch. So this week, couple of goals. So still going to work on my Little House Needleworks. I'm going to continue working on my April's Blue Diamond. So we've got 3 more days of stitching in May. I know, rapidly coming to a close. So I'm hoping to get all of that ribbon done. If I did a really, really big push, it would mean that I could probably get page 2 completed, but I'd really have to stay up late and work hard to get that done. So I don't think that's my goal. I think my goal is really just to get the ribbon finished and call it a day on that piece. And hopefully it won't take forever to get that accomplished, because I would like to get a few stitches put into my Nora Corbett Sweet Pea Fairy, which has not has not seen the light of day yet this month because I've spent all of my time on April's Blue Diamond. Like I say, it will be really interesting next week when I get my numbers pulled together to see just how many stitches I got in there. I'm hoping it's a good number, but like I say, there's still well over 6,000, probably closer to 7,000 stitches left to go into that project, which is an entire month's worth usually of stitching for me. So there's a lot left to go, on that one. But progress is progress, which is positive. I'm really glad I got those flowers done, and I'm like, once I get into the, like, once the ribbon, and like the next time it comes out, I'll feel like I'm really getting to the top of that project. So Little House Needleworks, April's Blue Diamond, hopefully some Sweet Pea Fairy time gets in there. And then of course, on Thursday, it will be June the 1st, which means, you know, I'll have a new start. I will start my June Quaker. And you know, we're off to the races. There will be new things happening in June, so check back next week on that. All right. With that, let's get into crocheting. So it's another week of no crocheting for me. So the funny part is I looked at the project and I went, so I didn't work on finishing off the one blanket because I have to, the edging, I'm going to do the called for edging, which is something that I need to, is a new stitch for me. So I just need to get that. It's to do a picot edging, which shouldn't be hard, but it's new to me. And I just looked at it and I went, I'm not in the mood to learn that right now or spend the time doing that. There's other things I want to get accomplished. And looked at it and went, man, if I just had like an easy blanket where it's just like back and forth rows, but I don't have that, and I'm not allowed to start it until I get this one finished. So hopefully this week, from a crocheting perspective, I will make myself learn how to do that edging and get that one done, because then I can move on to another blanket, which hopefully will be just a back and forth row thing. I have missed crocheting. Cheryl, and I did like, who was it that said she who we will not name, which I thought was funny. Anyway, but yeah, so no crocheting this week. I did remember to put into my for show basket. I showed this yarn last week, is that I had purchased this to sort of potentially be the coordinating color for the blue yarn that I got at the Ujamagrammas, which I forgot to put in here. So I thought this week I would just show both of them and go. So if it's predominantly this with a little bit of edging of that, it might work. Like I say, check back later. That's why I bought this. Okay. And okay, there we go. So that is all the crocheting, and that's the crocheting plans. Plan number 1 is to get the picot edging done and finish that big granny square lapgan completed, and choose what my next Afghan project is going to be, so I can get that ready to go and get that started. And that's my entire crocheting plan for the entire week. Those two things. All right. It's going to be another shorter video. I don't have a specific topic. Like I said, it's just Happy Memorial Day. So if you are celebrating Memorial Day, whether you are an American living in the US or whether you're an expat living somewhere else and still celebrating Memorial Day, I always think back to my brother when he was living in the US, that there were a number of Canadians. He was living in New York City. There were a number of Canadians that he knew that were there. And I always enjoyed hearing the stories that they celebrated all of the Canadian holidays, and they usually got together. So they celebrated Canadian Thanksgiving together. They celebrated, you know, July the 1st together. So it was interesting that despite the fact that they were not living in Canada, they were still commemorating Canadian holidays together as a group. So if you are an American expat living somewhere else and are celebrating Memorial Day, Happy Memorial Day to you as well. And with everything, I was watching somebody else who they were going like, don't forget on the long weekend, safety first. And I was like, yes, safety. You know, I'm a big one. Safety first. It happens, and accidents can happen so easily in the oddest of places. So it does pay to always, if you train yourself to try to have that safety mentality, helpful. So with that, I hope you're having a great weekend, regardless of whether you're celebrating Memorial Day or not. And I hope you are staying safe, because safety first, safety first, safety first. If you are living here in Alberta, don't forget, tomorrow is the provincial election. Hopefully you've either taken advantage of the early voting like I have done, or you have plans to go on voting day tomorrow, Monday the 29th. I am attending a concert that night, so it will be interesting by the time I get home after the concert to see where we're at. It's according to the polls, and I don't give any credit to the polls because the polls, certainly where I live, have been wildly inaccurate the last number of elections, whether it's municipal or provincial. The polls so far for our provincial election are very, very close. It will be very interesting to see how this election goes. I have in my head, I know what I want it to look like at the end of the provincial election. Unfortunately, I only get to vote once, and I only get to vote in one district. Despite my fact for, provincially how I would like things to work out, I only have one vote in one district, which doesn't impact a lot of that. So it will be very interesting to see how this election plays out. It's very close. There's really only two parties that are running in this provincial election. I'm really regretful that there isn't a third one, because I think if they had actually run a decent slate, they could have come up the middle and done some interesting things. But anyway, it's very interesting. We'll see how it goes. I will report back next week. But regardless of how you're planning on voting, I'm a big proponent of make your voice heard, vote. That's the only way you can get your voice, well, it's not the only way you can get your voice heard, because you can speak to your legislative, your MLA. But that's what elections are for. So if you're living in Alberta, I hope you're voting. We'll see what the results are. With that, I'm going to wrap it up. I hope you're having a great weekend. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying healthy. I hope you're finding some time to do some stitching. And I look forward to catching up with you next week. Take care.